Have you ever been so afraid of doing something that you couldn't tell if it was anxiety or your intuition? If you're a parent, mentor, or caregiver, stay with me. Today we're talking about faith, anxiety, discernment, and what happens where kids mistake one voice for the other. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Flower and this is Diary of a Parent. My goal here is that we move beyond how was school and we actually build the relationships where our teenagers want to invite us into their life. So let's get started. I believe one of the greatest gifts we can teach our kids is how to discern the loud voice from the quiet one. And I think nobody taught me that. That is how I wrote this entry, available on my book, Diary of a Parent, on Amazon. Both of the voices comes from inside our bodies. Both of them can make us stop, doubt ourselves, and both of them can be extremely convincing. But now that I'm growing up, I realize that both of them does not speak the same language. I think we have become way too comfortable saying, trust your gut. Sometimes it's wise. The problem is that sometimes your gut will make you think or feel something that is not really the truth. We must remember that a feeling is just information. It's not instructions. It's just information. Because imagine your teenager gets invited to a party, to a new team, to a new school, and they suddenly think, I shouldn't do this. Okay, pause. Is there actually concern in there? Or are you scared because this is something new? And that's the thing. Anxiety sometimes sounds really, really wise. Sounds like, what if this goes badly? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if I regret it? What if I embarrass myself? And because those questions sound pretty reasonable, we can sometimes mistake them for discernment. But sometimes those questions are simply fears, trying to create certainty where certainties does not exist yet. As humans, we want to feel safe immediately, and fear comes in to make sure we look for everything so we stay safe. But as parents, we must teach, and I believe this is one of the biggest things we must learn how to teach. You can still move when there is no certainty around you. And in the middle of uncertainty, you can learn how to pray. You can learn how to prepare. You can learn how to protect yourself. I tell Grace all the time, you can take the next step while your heart's still beating really fast. But I'm also really careful because I'm not trying to teach her, just ignore your feelings, go all in. Again, feelings is just information. And knowing this is wisdom. Sometimes fear is telling us something very important. Is there someone in there behaving uncomfortably? Don't ignore it. It's something really not safe. Do not ignore it just to prove that you're brave or that you went for it. If there are red flags, investigate them. Discernment and wisdom is the ability to slow down enough to understand what is this fear telling you. And when we do slow down enough, I think we can finally tell the difference. I believe intuition, discernment from God, is quiet. It's a gentle but firm, stern nudge. Anxiety is loud. Anxiety creates 1,000 scenarios, speed things up. And I think that information gives us a really important question. Is this voice giving me information or demanding a reaction from me? So this week, set a time apart with your teenager. Don't wait till they're in the middle of the moment, of the middle of the chaos, because you can't not teach someone how to swim when they are drowning. So take and make some intentional time apart this week where you sit down with them. And by the way, if they hear you, oh, you had never done this, what have changed? Take some accountability and you can simply say something like, I've been too focused on the outside. It is time I focus on the inside, and say nothing else. Trust that will have such a lasting impact on their health, their mental, their heart health. They will not ask you again. So back to the setting the time apart. Take them to a coffee shop, go to a park, and just start walking and just say something like, okay, I've been thinking a lot about the difference between anxiety and intuition, between anxiety and discernment from God. I believe so and so and so, and then you tell them, but also you show them examples. Again, your examples are part of the wisdom you already have to raise a teen that is completely 2.0 from you, or just a good human being. Give them examples of a moment in your life where you thought it was anxiety, but it was discernment. And then don't say, is this your intuition? Like, pick an example from their life and be like, is this your intuition? Don't say that, because most likely they will give you a side eye or an eye roll. Say something like, okay, what is this feeling telling you? Is it asking you to slow down, pause, and look closer? Or is it screaming, do something right now or everything will go wrong? That right there is anxiety. The first one is discernment. And this is where my faith comes in. Discernment is a muscle. It's a muscle that I started developing once I started building my relationship with God. In this entry I wrote, my intuition comes from God. He is the source. And by that, I do not mean God is talking to me, everything comes from Him. That is dangerous because I'm human and make mistakes. I can confuse something that I really like by a yes from Him. I can misunderstood. I can project my fears. I continuously remind myself that discernment requires humility. I intentionally pause, pray, breathe, look at the situation, I look at the fruits, I look at the facts. I seek wise counsel from friends, and then I listen. And that's how the muscles continue to grow. That's how I was able to start teaching it to Grace. And it's gentle, it's soft, it's rewarding, it's fulfilling. Fulfilling is the word. Versus anxiety. What does anxiety do? Anxiety wants urgency. It says, do it now, fix it now, figure it out now. Make sure everyone is okay but you. And suddenly you are trying to escape a feeling, not make a decision. And this is where we must be really, really careful. Be careful not to choose something because you're trying to escape the feeling of anxiety, but instead you make a decision based on the alignment that you have for your life. So parents, besides the questions and the step I just gave you, what do we do? How do we start teaching these skills to our teenagers? Number one, we practice with them. We practice in front of them. When they come to you, Mom, Dad, should I do this? You can ask, what are you feeling? What are you afraid that it will happen? What do you know for sure? What does your body feels like? What does your mind keeps telling you? Have you prayed about it? What do you think God is asking you to do right now? There is this lovely, lovely man. I can't believe I don't remember his name right now, but I might look it up and I might link a picture right here of the resource. He said something sometime on a podcast that I was listening. We must become scientists of our emotions. And I live by that. Because everything that we feel is information. It could be that for women, it happens a lot to me. When I'm approaching that specific time of my cycle, I started feeling terrible. I started like doubting myself, looking at my body, feeling heavy. And then if I don't have that on my mind, and if I don't pause it's enough to ask myself, okay, what's going on? Let me look ahead, what's coming. Let me look in the past. Let me look at the current situation. I could just mistake that for, okay, I'm having a bad day, I should not do anything. But instead I realize what it is and I move forward with gentleness, with care. So become a scientist of your emotions as the parent and become a scientist of your teens' emotions. But most importantly, show them how to do that as well for themselves. And I do not want to hear it. I can feel it through the screen. I hope you're not the one thinking it. I don't have time for all that. I have a lot of understanding for parents because I've been there, done that. But how dare you to say you don't have enough time for your teenagers? How dare you to say you don't have enough time for your family? Yes, we are tired. Yes, we're too busy providing. But this is your teenager, the one and only kid. When you have five of them, each of them are different. You must find the intentional time to do so. It doesn't have to be a deep dive session. It can be 5 to 10 minutes dedicated of each day where your intention is set apart and be with them. This is your family. We say all the time, children are a blessing, they are a gift, but they are a responsibility. And God entrusted us for us to steward them to be a good human being a good child of God. And you can do this. When you say you don't have time, make sure it's not because you feel that you're not ready or equipped. You are, and most importantly, you are able to learn and grow alongside them. Back to how to ask them, how to guide them towards the discernment. Ask them, do you need more time or do you need just more information? That's a question that I ask often, and I'm going to give you a real life example. Grace wanted to try out for something completely new. She came and she was like, I want to do this, but I'm not sure. I could have said two things. I'm going to tell you, of course, what I said. I could have told her, okay, done. Conversation ends. End of the story. Nothing more to say or to do. I could have also say, okay, but be careful. I'm already preparing her for fear. I'm already opening the door of anxiety right there. But I say, okay, tell me why. And she say, well, because it's really, really hard. What specific about trying out concerns you? She went on and on and on. I was just listening. And then I continued asking more questions until we brought it all the way down to, I'm just scared of failing. That right there created the perfect opportunity to remind her that fear was okay. Fear could have come with her to try out. And guess what? She did try it out. And guess what? She did made it to the team. But I know that's not always the case. And sometimes the answer is no. And when that's the case, again, the answer should not be, this is the end of the world. It should be, okay, that sucks. I hear you. I'm disappointed too. What did you learn from this? What can we do differently? How can we try it again? Is there another route? Is this something you still want? These are all questions. These are all questions that you are becoming scientists of your emotions, of their emotions. You're teaching them how to do this. If you're a teen watching this, hear me out. You don't have to obey every single feeling, but you also don't have to ignore every single feeling. You can listen without immediately acting on it, and instead, acting could look like learn to pray, learn to ask questions, learn to ask for help, to pause, to look at reality and then decide. And parents, someday your little kids will be an adult, and they're going to be sitting in a room wondering if they should take the job, if they should invest their time in that person, if they should move countries, if staying on this relationship is worth it or not. And you won't be there. So right now that they are under your roof, teach them how to immediately say, okay, let me slow down and listen. And then discern. That's the independence that comes from God, that gives them wisdom without needing an entire village to make a decision or without betting their entire future on one thing. And parents, that start, yes, becoming a scientist of your emotions, but also with accountability. How do we model this? Your kid is watching you make decisions from fear, from rush. So what are you teaching them? If they watch you constantly overthink, ask everyone else for help, ask everyone else for their opinion, constantly seeking reassurance, constantly doing anything uncomfortable, how can you tell them, trust yourself, when they are watching something completely different? And I know these things, it's kind of hard to sit with this thought, but it's also freeing, it's empowering. Because we realize that sometimes our children don't need another lecture. They need to see us do it. They need to see us move when we're still scared. They need to see us pray, see us in a corner with our Bible, reading it, asking God for guidance before we send them to learn from God from somebody else. Before we tell them, hey, sit down and pray. They need to see us. Maybe they need to see us following our dreams 5 minutes every day. Writing if you want to become a writer, or writing a song if you want to become a singer. 5 minutes a day. They need to see us investing in ourselves and our passions. They need to see doing the research to start that business. They need to see you and your husband sit down and just talking about life, maybe about an argument once you're both calm and ready to actually go through it. But they need to see that. At the end of each entry, I created 3 questions for teens and 3 for parents. For teens, this is your safe space to explore under the safety net of your parents. And for parents, this is your space to explore what your child is thinking and to build them into the human being, into the adult you want them to become. Parents, final reminder, these are kids that one day will make their own decision. We can sit beside them and learn, help them listen, help them understand that difference between anxiety and intuition, discernment from God. We can teach them how to build that muscle. We can teach them that their feelings matter, but they're not always to serve the authority of your life. We can teach them to have compassion for your fear, but not to always give fear the steering wheel of your life. Your intuition deserves attention, but it also requires humility. And parent, to do all this, you must be a more calm, more intentional parent. This is why I created my free Calm Parent Starter Pack. It's free. It's available in the link down below. Thank you for being here. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Do you find it hard to see the difference between fear and anxiety and your discernment or your intuition? Have you started talking about this with your teens? I'm excited. I'll be replying to every comment. Thank you again for being here.